Runners Only with Dom Harvey.
Runners Only with Dom Harvey and Maia Wilson. G'day, Maia.
Hi, kia ora.
Get in nice and close to that.
Come on, you want to hear my juicy voice?
Yeah. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Stoked to be here.
Really appreciate it. You are the... I went for a run this morning and I was thinking about this. I'm sure you're the third double international that I've had on the podcast. Matthew Ridge, rugby and league. Sophie Devine, cricket and hockey.
She was a basketballer back in her day, I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, wrong.
Not at national level. And you're a regular in the Silver Ferns, have been for years now.
Yeah.
And you played basketball for the country as well.
I did. I'm glad you've done your research, Dom. Like, you've done not too shabby. I debuted for the Tall Ferns, so the women's team, when I was 16. And, had a pretty cool pathway deciding whether I wanted to go to the States on college basketball scholarship or play netball. And I chose to stay at home, so... I wanted to ask you about that because it seems like the obvious choice and the exciting choice would have been to go to America. So you're obviously really good at basketball, like naturally good. Did you just prefer netball as a sport? See, this whole decision, I low-key got vilified for it from so many different people thinking that I should have just gone to the States. But I felt like I always wanted to be a dual international. Netball were really smart and got me into the Silver Ferns environment when I was about 15 as a training partner. And I thought, okay, I've ticked like half of that goal off. I can stay in New Zealand and still study for free. So why don't I just tick that goal off, play, and actually get paid for it? Because in the States I wasn't going to get paid for it. So
yeah, but there's a lot of opportunities that would come along with the scholarship.
Yeah, I never thought I was going to make it though. I never thought that I was ever going to be WNBA worthy, whereas I felt like that pathway to become a Silver Fern was pretty much I had my foot in the door, and in some ways I felt like I'd been groomed to potentially take on that Silver Ferns bib.
Okay, and I suppose like if you compare those two sports, like women's netball in New Zealand, massive.
Yeah.
Women's basketball in New Zealand, not so massive.
Yeah, and at that time there wasn't like a women's league where they were getting paid in New Zealand, but they do now. And I just feel like I'm not regretful of the decision that I've made. I feel like it's done me quite well. But I would love to play basketball. Like, I was really good at smashing people, like Smash and Bro. That's one of my goals. If I could be on Smash and Bro, I feel like I've made it.
Yeah, how good are you? How aggressive can you be in netball? It's quite confrontational. I played a bit of social netball over the years.
What position?
Oh,
you're looking like a goldie to me.
A, B, C, anything but centre.
Yeah, I feel like I was really good at a screen. Like, you can actually get elbows in there. There's a bit more grabbing. But I guess in netball, they call it a non-contact sport, but it definitely has a lot of contact in it, especially as the game's progressing. But, yeah, get me on a screen on a pick and roll, and Bob's your uncle, I'm in there.
Get you on a what with a what?
See, this is basketball lingo. Put me on a screen, pick and roll. I'm going to town.
Yeah. So were you? How much of what you do is natural talent? I mean, so you were in the dual international by the age of 19.
Yeah.
Tall Ferns at 16.
Yeah.
Silver Ferns not long after that. So there must have been some natural talent there. But one thing I've discovered with this podcast, doing this over a year, natural talent only gets you so far, and then there's hard work that's required as well.
I've had a different journey. I was really lazy at high school, and I was lucky that I was involved in teams that were successful and that netball and basketball were picking me for my natural talent. Once I left high school to play for the Central Pulse, I learnt what training was. So I hated running. I'm still not the biggest fan of running, but I know that I've put myself into a position that's what you do as an athlete, and to be the best of the best, that's what you got, physically you got to be able to be capable. So I felt like it got me so far, and then it put me on the bench. So I'd never been benched until I made the Silver Ferns.
Wow.
And that was a learning curve for me, but it just meant that I needed to develop that training ethic and work ethic, and I feel like I've finally got there now.
I forgot about the running and how much you hate running. While researching this, I stumbled across a story that you did, and you were really good at soccer when you were younger.
Yeah.
And you used to play on the quarter fields or the mini fields or whatever, and then as soon as it progressed to the full size field, and you had to run, you were like, nah, I'm done.
I could toe hack the ball. Honestly, I was so good. I could go toe hack one end to the other, and then it got full 100 metres, and I was like,
I'm not running.
I'm not running anymore. Why run 100 metres when you can stay in a 5 metre circle in netball and not move? But now that's all a part of the job. Shuttles, yo-yo. Have you tried a yo-yo? Have you heard of a yo-yo?
A yo-yo?
A yo-yo test is like a beep test. But it's like sprint endurance. So you sprint 20 metres out, 20 metres back, have 10 seconds rest, and it gets faster and faster. So as a part of our netball, we have to do it, and we have to make target to make silver ferns. So if you're not fit enough to make target, you don't make the team. I reckon you should give it a crack.
Oh, I'd love to. So I'm guessing, so what you're saying, I think, is you can like make that silver ferns environment with natural talent, but then you got to fucking work.
I feel like I was probably a very rare case of natural talent to be able to make there. But, yeah, I would say I wish I developed the work ethic way younger because I feel like I'd be leaps and bounds ahead of where I currently am. But at the same time, I sort of feel like I'm starting to hit my prime. So
yeah. Were you just a big kid for your age in terms of height and stuff like that? Is that what made you good?
Yeah, I've always been massive. Like, I want to say I was, 8 years old, and I was the second tallest person in my primary school, and the tallest person was my brother. So I'm 6'2", my brother's 6'4", 6'5", my older sister's 6 foot, and my dad in his prime maybe was 5'11", and my mum's 5'5". So I didn't necessarily come from tall pedigree, but it really helped in terms of, ball sports like basketball, netball, height, can be one of the reasons you make a team when you don't.
Yeah. Well, you went to Mount Albert, and you were in the school's like top netball team in your first year. So you're like 13.
Yeah.
And you're playing with the 17 to 18-year-olds.
Yeah. So it was a thing back in Mags at that day, was that you'd start blooding some of your talent from year 9. So myself and Holly Fowler, who's in my Stars netball team, we were a part of that. We were blooded to be where we are. And part of that too, I was also playing Prem basketball from year 9. What else was I doing? And at the same time, you're playing school netball with your peers, and then you'd be playing women's club netball with the likes of, when I first started, Portia Woodman, Kayla McAllister, Maria Tutaia, Sorrel Fitzpatrick, Jamie Lee Price. Like, I could just name off all these ANZ and Silver Ferns. And so Saturdays I'd be playing with my school, and Thursday nights I'd be playing with and against women.
Wow. How was that in terms of more, I guess, the off-court stuff? Like, do you know it's a huge age gap?
It was a huge age gap, but
did they treat you like a kid, or did they sort of treat you like a peer?
Oh, a bit of both. Yeah, definitely a bit of both. As we first started, we were definitely those young ones that were a bit annoying and are they actually good to be here?
Doing the TikToks.
Yeah, doing the TikToks, the unco TikToks, that was definitely us. But I think that was probably a real fundamental part of my development, because I was playing with some of the best in the game at club level. And, and actually sometimes it was harder to play school, because you go from playing at this really high level with women to having to drop down a bit. There was definitely a significant drop. So I actually found dropping down to school actually a lot more challenging, because I had to, it wasn't the same pace. The people around you weren't necessarily playing at the level that you were used to playing.
It's funny that you say it would seem common sense that it would be easier. It'd be like if you're an All Black and then you go and play rugby in Japan or in France for a season, you think it'd be easier, but I suppose it is. It comes with its own sets of challenges.
Yeah, it was way harder, because there'd be balls that I would get fed from some of the women that I'd be expecting at school game, and it wouldn't happen, or sometimes I'd be getting a bit complacent and then someone would come out of nowhere. So yeah, even nowadays I still play a bit of club netball in the off season to just muck around, and it's that whole the style of the game, and knowing that actually you're that older head that needs to be a bit more supportive and go with what's happening around you, rather than just getting used to what is your normal. Yeah,
so older head. How old are you?
25.
25. Are you like one of in the sort of senior leadership team in the Silver Ferns now? Would you say you've been around for a while?
Yeah, I've been around
7 years. 7 years you've been in the Ferns.
Yeah, I would probably be maybe the second tier.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have been around. I'm not necessarily starting at the moment, but yeah, I've got that experience and I guess natural leadership. So I sort of see that as my job, to serve and be around and be there when people need me.
Yeah, cool. Well, there's so much to talk about with you, and I'm so pleased you're here today. Let's go all the way back. So you're from Auckland, South Auckland.
Yes.
Mum, dad, and 2 brothers, did you say?
I have a older brother and an older sister. Yep.
Oh, so you're the baby of the family?
I'm the baby.
Really?
Yes,
what does that mean?
I'm the princess.
Are you?
Yeah, I definitely was. When I was growing up, I was the person that could twist my dad's arm and somehow there'd be lollies or hot chips or bribes that would be going down. So yeah, that was me.
Yeah, and you're quite connected with your whānau and your whakapapa and stuff.
Yes,
right into the culture.
Yeah, right. Very staunch Māori upbringing.
Yeah, your mum's got a moko.
My mum's got a moko kauai. I was quite fortunate enough because for a lot of urban Māori, they move to the big cities and they have to move away from home. But for me, my where I whakapapa to on my dad's side is Mangere. So I got to be raised on my marae, which was really important for me. And maybe in some instances there's a bit of disconnect for me from my mum's side where she's in the north. But lucky enough, she's moved back to the Hokianga after 25 years in our whānau home. So hopefully that'll come.
When you say raised on your marae, like, what do you mean? Do you actually live on the marae? No, or you live it?
Well, yes and no. So my parents split when I was about 13 and my dad moved back to our marae, back to our papakainga. So it just meant that pretty much every weekend or fortnightly I was there, and really fond memories of, it was this little piece of paradise in the middle of Auckland that no one had a clue about because it was by the airport. So it's a bit different now. My dad passed away when I was 18. So it's still something that's coming. It's a bit of a disconnect, but for me it's really important that I go back there and one day be the big chief. Yeah,
is that the goal?
Yeah, definitely a big goal. My dad was one of the key treaty negotiators and kaumātua on our pai, so for me a part of his legacy is being able to go back and make things better for my nieces and nephews that are running around and for our future generations.
Yeah, that's cool. And what was life like growing up? Baby of the family. Did you get picked on by your older brother and sister? Or were they quite nice to you?
Well, my sister is she's about 16 years older than me, so we didn't necessarily grow up around her that much. So it was mostly my brother and I. If you ask my brother, he probably found me so annoying.
So annoying. How much older is he?
He's 2 years.
What happened? Why was there a 14-year gap between the first and the second?
So my older sister, I've got two older sisters. They're half sisters, so my dad had two kids when he was about 17. My oldest sister passed away when she was 6 weeks old of cot death, and then a year later they had my next sister. So yeah, she was raised with my grandparents, and then once my brother and I came along, we were raised by my mum and my dad.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before your dad passing away, so this happened on the year that you made the Silver Ferns.
Yeah, 2016 was a massive year for me. First year out of school, first year moving out of home, living in Wellington, playing for the Pulse. And so halfway through the Pulse season, I lost my grandmother from leukemia. And then 6 months later, my dad passed away of a brain aneurysm caused by a tumour that was really unexpected. And so, two pretty prominent figures in my life. One you sort of can prepare for because you know it's going to happen, but my dad was a massive shock. So I remember when I got the phone call, I was in the middle of nowhere in Wellington with no reception, and then feeling a bit of a shock getting on a plane, and my dad's in ICU. So dad was in ICU for about 5 days, and then never did I think at 18 I was going to have to deal with wills and estates and all that sort of jazz. So that was quite full on.
Yeah, we'll go back and focus on your nana first, because there's a clip online. I watched it yesterday. Gave me goosebumps actually. So you're playing with your Pulse team. Everyone's wearing black armbands as a tribute to your nana. And then afterwards, it's like you find your mum in the crowd and you just go over there and you're sobbing. Yeah,
absolutely, just broke down. I think. Like I said, you can prepare for stuff like this, but then you can't. And knowing that I had to leave my baggage at the door, play a game, and then feel not just physically exhausted, but just emotionally wrecked.
Mentally drained.
And knowing that I had to go back to a funeral straight after. So, it was sort of like a roller coaster of emotions all happening at once and then just like flopping.
What was your relationship with your nana like? Were you pretty tight?
Yeah, very, very close with my grandmother. We didn't necessarily have the best relationship with my dad's family. So my grandmother and my papa on my mum's side were pretty much our rocks, and my brother and I were the only grandchildren, so we were quite spoilt all the time. And that was the third bout of cancer that my grandmother had. So over the years, she had breast cancer, she had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and then she passed away of leukemia. So it was a pretty full-on journey with her, and yeah.
How old was she?
Oh, geez, terrible. She must have been like 71?
Yeah. That's not old.
Yeah, no.
It's the same age as my mum now.
Yeah, and then my mum got lung cancer in 2020. So I think,
Shit, cancer's got it in for your family.
Yeah, cancer sucks, bro. Like
it
can
sucks
get
balls.
wrecked. It sucks balls, and yeah. So I think that impact again. Like every year, somehow something tragic or really hard happens, and that I have to go through. So I've learnt part of my maturity now is because I feel like I've dealt with so much crap. Like, been there, done that, nothing's really going to stop me.
Yeah, because I think there's some people that are lucky and they're just born with resilience and they manage to shake everything off and nothing bothers them. And then for everyone else, maybe they don't have the same level of resilience, but it's like a muscle, you can build it.
Yeah.
Do you think you've always been a resilient person, or do you think that the adversity and stuff that you've been through has sort of given you resilience?
Definitely adversity, and like quite high adversity, like life or death situations, or bursts of stressful mental health issues for people in my environment. So yeah, that's why I'm like, any little things just don't seem to faze me, and I feel just like, honestly, I've been through the works, and sometimes I'm just used to like, okay, put your big girl pants on and you just keep going. Like, you can break down once everything's done, and there'll be a piece of time and then you'll be a wreck. But right now, you just have to get on with it.
Oh, good for you. Because I feel like adversity can sort of make or break people. So it can either make you stronger, like it has with you, or there's other people that can just carry it around like invisible baggage.
I think it's different too if it's about like your loved ones rather than you. Like, I felt like in those moments, I had people relying on me. So just get on with it. Like parents, like family, or teammates. Like, at times I remember when my mum had lung cancer, I'd be rushing to training, and then I'd be going home and I had to shower mum or do her pills and make sure she was eating. I was her full-time caregiver, as well as having to do like media ops and promos and going to training. Like, it was a full-time gig. Study on the side of that too.
That's a lot to deal with.
No, just normal day in the life. Just keep going.
What about your other siblings? Like, you talk about racing home and showering your mum and helping your mum sort her pills and stuff. Like, were you like, come on guys, step up? I'm fucking, I've got the netball and I'm doing this.
Yeah, yes and no. I guess I knew that I'm one of the people that hold it down in my family. So part of it, I took on the responsibility of that. And with my being female, and it was my mum, there was a lot of stuff she only wanted me to do. So it just meant that...
Oh, of course, like the showering and stuff.
Well, yeah, just pretty much anything my mum just wanted me to do. So it was...
Because are you the most trustworthy? Are you bossy?
Yeah, I'm bossy. I'm assertive. I'm a planner. I do things based on logic.
It's quite funny because you think the baby of the family would be like the unbossy one. I don't know.
I run the roost.
My sister Charlotte, she's the baby of our family, and she's bossy as fuck.
Yeah,
bosses everyone around.
My brother's really good too. He just lets me do my thing, and he'll just like go with it. I think part of it, I'm gonna say that he likes me doing everything, because then he doesn't have to. He literally birthday presents, Christmas presents. He won't do anything, and so all the time, Mother's Day just happened. Oh, this is from myself and Kahi. Everything's myself and Kahi, and everyone knows that Kahi hasn't done anything, but grateful. And then I say, what did we get them? And I have to remind him of whatever I get.
He sounds a bit like me. I like being told what to do. I think, there's some people that are like that, and some people want to be the leader, and some people just happy to be a follower. I'm happy to go with the flow. I'm team bro on this one.
You're team bro, so you're not dominant.
No, I'm not. Just go back to that Pulse game for a second, the black armband one, in tribute to your nana. So, like, what do you remember about the game itself? Do you remember anything, or was it just like a blur? Like, you just sort of running on fumes?
Yeah, I can't even remember what the score was. I'm pretty sure we probably lost because we lost most games that year. Yeah, nothing. It just feels like it went so fast, and I remember being exhausted. And most of my memories of that game actually is of that piece that you watch. So, yeah, it's crazy how you can just black out some moments.
Do you remember that piece that I mentioned that's online? Do you remember that from being in the moment, or from like watching it online at a later date?
Probably watching it online. I remember the whole scenario, but I wouldn't remember anything situation or any of the context of it. Just completely gone from my memory.
Yeah. And can you remember if you had a good game or not?
Did I have a good game?
When have you ever had a bad game?
No, I can't remember. Honestly, nothing.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So you're just sort of running on autopilot, muscle memory, whatever you want to call it.
Muscle memory, autopilot, and just get through. Like, all you've got to do is survive and get through it. You'll be sweet once you do.
Yeah. It's such a nice tribute, being able to wear the black bands for your nana.
Yeah, I was really grateful too, because, I was the youngest of the team, so, one of the younger ones, and you feel like it brings people together, you feel a bit more loved. And I also had to fly up earlier than the team when that happened too, so it's different. Travelling with a team, you're stuck with everyone for a whole day or a couple of days, and then sometimes it's quite disruptive when people come in and out, so really grateful for that.
Yeah, whose idea was it? Was it like the coach or the captain?
It's quite a common thing in netball to wear black armbands in tribute to someone, so I can't remember whose it was, but yeah. Yeah,
that's cool. And your dad, so tell us about Joseph Wilson.
Joseph Wilson, he, what do I talk about my dad? I was daddy's little girl, and so pretty much whatever I wanted, I got.
You mentioned the lollies before.
Yeah, I mentioned, I talk about this is the difference between my brother and I. My dad would always, he loved trade me and he loved going to like car fairs. So he would be like, he'd want a mate to go, so he'd ask one of us like, who wants to come to car fair? We'd both say no, and then he'd bribe, he'd be like, you can get hot chocolates and hot chips, and so I would always say yes. And my brother would never go. So I was the one who was easily bribed. My dad, when my parents split, my dad did all the basketball stuff with me. My mum did all the netball stuff. So we lived in like Hillsborough and Margate, and so I would play out in West Auckland. So it would mean a lot of time in the car with Dad, just cruising around. When I moved to Wellington, and he'd come and fly to see me at some of my games. My favourite food in the world is a steak and egg fry bread from the Ortara flea markets. Like, it's just...
What? Steak and egg
fry bread from the Ortara flea markets.
What's that?
It's literally like a fried...
Steak and egg and a fried
bread, yeah. And the steak and onion is marinated in a plum sauce. Like, it's the greatest shit.
Sounds like a heart attack waiting to happen.
I've got another funny story about that.
I've never heard a heart attack and funny story in the same sentence. I'm looking forward to it.
I actually took one of my former Stars teammates out there, and she's the only... Normally people are like, this is so good, like, this is so yum. She was the first one who said, this is my cholesterol intake for the month. This chick from Christchurch, and I was like, never. I was gobsmacked. I was like, who says it? Like, this is the best. But when with Dad, he would... You like that one, eh?
Yeah, good.
You like that one?
Yeah, good.
With Dad, he would fly down to watch some of my games on a Sunday, and on a Saturday morning at 5 o'clock, he would go and buy me like 3 steak and egg fry breads, and then fly them, bring them down.
3 months worth of cholesterol in one day.
3 months worth of cholesterol intake, and boom, that was him. So yeah, best feeling was that he never got to see me play live for the Ferns, but he got to watch me debut from home, and he was there when I first wore the dress, and singing the national anthem. So it takes something of real pride for me to wear Wilson on the back, knowing that he's no longer here.
Yeah. And how old were your parents? How old were you when your parents broke up?
I was about 13. I was just about to start high school. It was like January before I started high school.
Yeah. What are your recollections of that? What sort of impact did that have on you?
It was interesting because I think I developed a better relationship with my dad once Dad left home, but at the same time I got really good times with Dad. So like I said, he was buying me the hot chocolates, the hot chips and the lollies, and so everything with Dad was just amazing, whereas Mum and her whatever was happening, her telling me to tidy up my room, I was just not having a bar of it. So
so he was like the fun dad, and someone had to be the disciplinarian.
Yeah, he was the fun dad. Mum was the one who was really holding down the fort that I learned now, but she was just trying to boss me around, and for someone who's quite dominant, like, I just did not want to have it.
You butted heads. But I mean, the way things panned out with losing your dad, especially such a young age, it's nice that, I don't know, I suppose it's nice that there was that separation, and he did maybe go the extra mile and above and beyond, you know, to spoil you in a way.
Yeah, definitely.
So it leaves you with these good lasting memories.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So do you remember... Okay, so there's a photo on Instagram of you and your mum and your dad at your first Silver Ferns game. You are way taller than both of them. So where was that?
That was Spark Arena here in Auckland, 2016.
Wow. What happens when you make the Silver Ferns? Like, do you know you're about to be named, or is it a surprise phone call? Do you know you're sort of in the realm of being named?
Well, what happened is we had a Silver Ferns trial for the squads right after the ANZ Championship, and so I went, and I was honestly, I would trial games 3 days, and I literally just got off the phone to my mum, and I was like, I'm ready for you to pick me up, like take me and get some KFC. Like I had it all planned out, and then that year they.
By the way, apologies if any netball nutritionalists are listening to this.
Hey, I've come a long way. I've come a long way, all in moderation. I told you I was a big gal when I was at high school, and so we got letters. That was the thing that year. So I came back out of the shower and there was a letter lying on my bed and it said I had made it, and I had to call mum and saying I was gutted that I couldn't have some KFC because I was staying in camp for a bit longer. And then I remember walking out of my room to go and see Amelia and Ekanasio actually, and at the same time Catherine Latu or Catherine Tuivaiti walked out and I had made it in over her. So it was her position that I had taken. And I remember thinking like, oh my God. Like,
so you're 19?
I'm 18.
18. She's how old?
She's probably like 30, 31.
Oh.
And we were literally the same position. So I remember just walking out and I was so nervous because I was like, I've literally just taken this woman's spot. And at that point I didn't know whether I deserved it either. I was like, she's amazing. And she was really good about it. Like she gave me a big hug. But yeah, it's something that will stay in the back of my mind.
That's a
awkward.
Lot. Awkward AF.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's a reality of sport though, isn't it? And this could be you in 5 years' time.
Literally could be me. So like, you know, you can be so disposable. Like people can just flick you away. And I think sometimes it's hard being in such a very conservative sport. I know I'm very PC because at times I don't want anything that I say or I do to negatively affect me or the sport or the organisation.
What do you mean it's a conservative sport?
I feel like there's things that we do as netballers or as women that I feel like we get blown up for. And then some of the men, like the rugby players, like it's just a normal part of their day.
Can you think of any examples?
Yeah, some of them involve like alcohol, even just a beer in a changing room post a rugby match is a normal thing, but
I think they're still sponsored by Steinlager,
yeah,
right?
yeah, you know, like, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but it was more the fact that, sometimes we can be out at dinner having a few drinks and we get, it's different.
Is that right? Unbelievable. Yeah. Who's making a big deal about this? I've completely missed. Is it a social media thing, or is it something in the media?
Yeah, a bit of both.
Right.
Yeah, a bit of both. I think sometimes, like, it's definitely something that I've internalized all the time, and I'm very cautious about what I do when I'm in public or just when anyone's around. But yeah, I just feel like it's something about netball in particular, or just because we're.
What do you think? It's like a sexism thing, maybe. Even if it's not deliberately sexist, maybe it is. It's like a bias.
Maybe. I just, this is what I see when I look at our rugby men.
Right.
And sometimes I just feel like, I don't think we could ever do that.
Mm. So what does the Silver Fern celebration look like? So say you're in Birmingham for the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah.
You win a bronze.
Yeah.
What does that night look like?
I had a great night.
Yeah.
A lot of it. Sometimes I actually can't remember, but
I feel like the media will give you a free pass at the end of a tournament if you've done well enough.
Yeah.
Like when the All Blacks won the 2011 Rugby World Cup, I was living just around the corner from Ali Williams, and there was people still spilling out of his house at 7, 8, 9 in the morning the next day. Then everyone turned up to the parade in Queen Street all hungover, and I feel like everyone's fine with it. But if it was in the middle of like a Bledisloe series. Yeah,
it's all about timing, hey, like, so all about timing. But yeah, I had a great time in Birmingham. Like, it was my first Commonwealth Games. Like, for us, we've only got 2 pinnacle events, Com Games and World Cup. So there's always celebrations at the end, regardless of the result. You still want to celebrate the small achievements you have. So yeah, bronze wasn't what we went there for, but there was still so much on the path that you need to celebrate. So we're still humans, like we're still normal people. Sometimes people put this athlete tag and put us on a pedestal that I personally don't think we should be on.
Well, I mean, it's a career that requires, like, I suppose, a lot of sacrifices in a lot of ways. Like, you need to watch what you eat and watch what you drink. So, I mean, you should be able to cut loose every once in a while.
It's not like I'm getting on the piss every night and like normal people have like Friday night drinks, Saturday night drinks. It's sort of the same. Just we have to I guess, organise our life around sport. So we're not going to be, I'm playing on Sunday. I'm definitely not going to be doing it tomorrow night or tonight, you know, like, but it doesn't mean maybe after a Sunday game I can't celebrate with people.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Where's the bronze medal? What have you done with that? Is it in a drawer? Please tell me it's not in a drawer.
No.
It better be on display somewhere, like at your mum's house.
No, it is in a drawer at home. I don't know what to do with it. I've still got all this gear that just sits in a bag in my wardrobe.
What, like do you get a new dress every Silver Ferns game, or
no? I wish, but no. But I've got this whole Commonwealth Games kit that's literally just sitting in a bag in a wardrobe. And I'm quite particular with who I give my things to, only because I want to give them to people that really appreciate it or like got a bit of gratitude for it. Because sometimes, I'm not going to lie, I've seen Silver Ferns kit in frickin' Save Mart. Like, someone really wanted that stuff, so they chucked it to Save Mart. And the Save Mart price is like $2.
Unreal. Did it still have the name on it? Do you know whose kit it was in Save Mart?
Yeah, I don't know whose kit it was, but I remember there was
Van Dyke. Who could that be?
It was this Storm Purvis who works with Crowd Goes Wild on Sky. It had SP on it, so we knew whose initials it was, whose top it was. We just had no clue who she gave it to and who. Someone.
Maybe Storm took it to Save Mart herself.
Yeah, maybe she.
Sorry, I was really hard up this week.
Maybe she wanted an extra $2.
Yeah, dude. I don't know if you want to talk about the money side of things, but do you get paid as a Silver Fern?
Yes.
Yeah. Is the money good? Is it okay?
So our contracts are split between our ANZ Premiership team and our Silver Ferns. So for ANZ Premiership, if you're not in Silver Ferns, you're pretty much on. I think the minimum's 23k. That's not a lot of money. Live on that. You can't live on that, and it's pretty much like a 6 to 9 month commitment. But for Silver Ferns, because you've got the income of both ANZ, which is mostly where you make your big money, and then you get the top up of the Silver Ferns, it's a full time gig.
Right. And is it like the All Blacks, where like the more, I don't know, the longer you've been around or the more famous you are, the more well-known you are, you get paid more? Or is it sort of like a flat rate?
No, it's not a flat rate. It's definitely based on your value. So normally if you're in the starting 7, you would be up in the higher tiers. But yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
What does that high tier band look like?
I don't know what it looks like off the top of my head.
Over 100k?
If you combine it, yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you combine both salaries, it definitely is, yeah. But I don't know.
It's not great money, eh? I mean, it's nothing to scoff at, but you know, at the end of this career, at 30, 35, whatever it happens to be, then you've got to start something else.
Yeah, you have to have a backup plan, or you could be injured and no one wants you. Like, it's pretty cutthroat in terms of sport. I do get jealous when I see some of the cricketers, what they earn in the IPL. Like, holy hecker, I'm in the wrong sport. I'm so in the wrong sport. Golf, tennis.
You need like an Indian netball league. Yeah, that's crazy money they get over there, right? Insane.
It's only for like a short stint. It's only like for like 2 or 3 months too. So like, we just need more people in like the States and China and India to want to play netball. And then we'll have an IPL.
Where is netball big? It's massive here.
Commonwealth. So they're
Jamaica.
So Australia, New Zealand, England, Jamaica are the top 4 teams. You see a lot. South Africa's in there. You see a lot of international imports from Malawi, Jamaica, South Africa go into the Australian and the English league. So there's only 3 professional leagues in the world, but most, to be honest, you only make your money in Australia and New Zealand, like good money. Yeah, and when they fly you away for Silver Fern tournaments, they fly you business class or no?
Really?
No.
It's quite funny, like having I've had Tyler Nathan Wong from
because NZRU, so they fly business.
Yeah, so I had her on the podcast, and Sophie Devine, who has played cricket for New Zealand for a million years, and she talked about the changes she's seen in her time, and it goes from like hand-me-down gear in the beginning to now flying business class places. I'm surprised you guys are all tall.
We're literally, apart from 4 people, we're over 6 foot. Like, we're massive, but we have just been told that for this World Cup, we can get a one-way premium. So we're going premium economy to South Africa, but economy back. And because, like, for a lot of us, we do 1 to 2 big trips a year, like going to South Africa and UK, like it's not down the road.
Yeah.
When you're going to somewhere like Aussie, like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, 3 hours, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Like,
Yeah, but you're about the same height as me. It's economy. You know, people are going to be like, "Oh, boo, world's smallest violin," but economy's rough when you're over 6 foot. The person in front of you puts the seat down, and it's basically like on your lap.
Yeah, and so we're lucky sometimes. We're lucky enough we get exit rows. But I don't know. For me, I can't sleep upright.
Yeah.
Like I need to lie down, so it's really uncomfortable. And yeah, there definitely are times where my knees are kissing. And the poor person in front of me, like they must feel my knees up their bum.
Yeah, it's the same. I had a guy say to me once, "Hey, do you mind not kicking the seat?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I wasn't kicking the seat. It was like just moving around. It feels one of those awful massage chairs in the mall."
I'm like, we normally fly in New Zealand, so in New Zealand definitely isn't that bad. But I remember I flew China Southern once for basketball and literally hip to hip squeezing into a seat, and then my feet would just not fit.
Oh yeah, that's not Southern China, not a great airline. No. Like if you look online for the cheapest flights, it's always Southern China Airlines.
Yeah, never again.
That says something. Yes. So so back to your mum. So she got the cancer after your dad passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did your mum get sick?
My mum got sick 2020.
Yeah.
She found out the day we went into lockdown, the first lockdown. So that was really full on. I had also, pretty much until last year, I'd been living half the year in Auckland, half the year in Wellington. So it meant that I stayed in Auckland for a lot longer than I was supposed to. And that was hard because it got to a point where frick, am I going to lose both my parents and I'm 20? What the hell is that going to be? And then...
It's a terrifying prospect, eh?
Yeah, never in the world did I think Dad would just literally pretty much drop dead, and then a couple of years later, Mum's really sick. So she had a third of her right lung cut out, and it just meant things like laughing and coughing and eating, and literally everything was a struggle. We lived in a 4-story house, and to get to the kitchen or the bathroom or wherever she was, she would have to walk up so many stairs, and that was a challenge for her. So yeah, that was a big thing.
4-story house mansion.
Oh, it wasn't mansion.
You're painting quite a picture here.
Nah, it was this Horriers house in Hillsborough. It was not what you think.
Could you not just put Mum in the elevator?
Maybe if I carried her up there, maybe.
Yeah, wow. Oh man, that's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the treatment and stuff during lockdown, how did that look? Were you able to go to hospital and appointments?
She wasn't even having treatment. She couldn't have the surgery until pretty much post lockdown. So yeah, she didn't have it until about 3 months later. And then she found out she had heart issues. There's all these things that started to pop up, and I'm like, yeah, there's also another reason why I took pretty much full control of the household. I don't think my stepdad really appreciated it because I sort of came in like a hurricane and be like, you're doing this and you're doing that.
Who's your stepdad? Is that your mum's partner?
Yeah, my mum's partner. Yeah. So they've been together pretty much since I was 15. So yeah, I came in like a hurricane and just took control.
Yeah. Oh, good for you. Well, someone has to, right?
Someone has to. Yeah. I'm a control, there are parts of I'm a control freak too. So if it's not my way sometimes, it's definitely the highway.
Mm. And your stepdad, is he a good guy? You like him?
Yeah, I've known my stepdad all my life. They used to go to teachers' college together back in the 80s. So he's always, I call him Uncle Rog because in brown families you always call everyone auntie and uncle even if you're not related. So
I love that.
Yeah, Uncle Rog has been around forever. So it's not just a friend, but now. Right,
did he always have an eye on your mum even when she was married?
I don't know.
You haven't had this chat?
I've thought about it. I've cheekily thought about it, but nah, he's got kids and stuff too. So he's definitely only got all eyes for my mum now.
Your dad never made things like, oh yeah, bloody Uncle Rod, he's been waiting for this.
I bet you he did. It just never came out.
And what was your mum and dad's relationship like after they broke up? Were they still all right? Was it quite sort of amicable and?
Yeah, it definitely. My brother and I were at the core of co-parenting and making everything was going on all right. I guess financially, my mum really took the helm and she would save. It was crazy the amounts of money that I would cost. 1 year would be 30K.
What
Next
for?
year would be 35K, 40K, 45.
For sports exchanges
I was playing in pretty much 6 different netball teams. I was playing in probably about 4 or 5 different basketball teams. I was doing athletics, I wasn't a bad thrower. I was just doing everything. So, it added up. Like, netball shoes are like $300, socks, like everything. Fees. Basketball in particular was expensive. A trip to Aussie was like $7,000.
Did you appreciate that at the time, or is it only like looking back now from the lens of like a woman in her mid-20s that you're like, fuck, that was a lot that mum and dad did?
I knew it was going on, but I never really resonated with me. And it's not until I'm an adult now and earning my own money, I'm like, fuck, the amount like mum would have to save. And pretty much it was just mum. My dad wasn't in the position to be able to help, so I don't know how she did it. And she hated fundraising because it would always be the same people giving, and she didn't want to continue to give money out of our whānau friends. So my mum's incredible. I guess we're so similar. When I was younger, we clashed a lot, but now as an adult, like, we're on the phone all the time, like every day pretty much. I admire the investment that both my parents have made in me. Like, lucky I bloody made it. Like, think about 250, 300 grand wasted if I didn't actually give it a good crack.
Well, I think there's nothing worse for like anybody than not reaching your potential, whatever that may be. Maybe it's netball or sport, maybe it's not. But it's that they've made that investment in you, but you've sort of met them halfway, I guess, by trying your fucking hardest.
Oh,
to be the best
for that. Like, thank God I did.
Yeah.
I'm too determined. I'm very driven. I'm very ambitious. Some days I can't do something, I'll be like, I'll bloody show you. Like, is
that like a superpower for you? Do you think?
Like,
it's got you to where you are.
Yeah. Part of it, it's been developed. So the first part of it, I just knew I had raw talent and I was naturally good at sport, could pass and catch ball. But this time, it's sometimes it's my profile, it's my sport that gets me in the door, but it's actually me that opens the door and just walks through. Yeah.
Well, you seem very confident.
Yes. In ways. I'm the most insecure person you'll probably ever meet.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? I'm very proud of the person that I am. Some people might call me arrogant or quite, very aggressive. Up
yourself or...
Yeah, a little bit.
No.
A little bit. But I like to think that I've got
know who you are.
I know who I am.
Yeah.
I would never do anything to hurt or harm anyone, and it's about the people. Like, I'm in a team sport, so it's about the collective, not necessarily about my own success. And then you break it down a level, and then I've had massive like body image issues in the past. I had this whole Instagram post that blew up that was never meant to be what it ended up making it. I just had these really shitty thoughts in my head, and I wanted to get them out. And then it blows up. And seeing the impact and the response that other people had, like, even now everyone asks me about it and they're like, have you come a long way? And I'm like, yes and no. I'm still struggling with it, but it's just part of my normal now. Yeah.
Let's get into that now. So this was an Instagram post that you put up in 2021. Is this the side-by-side photo?
Yes.
So there's you looking would you say maybe a little bit sick, a little bit skinny on the left?
I was sick. Yeah, I was self-diagnosed myself.
And then on the right, you at your, I suppose, ideal weight.
Yeah.
Healthy weight.
It was. And during the first lockdown, I've always been a big girl. And when I first got on the netball system, I saw a nutritionist. And a part of that journey was that I needed to lose weight, and it was all about the scales. And so here's this 15-year-old just being told that you got to lose weight. That was like quite big for me. And each appointment that I'd see monthly, it was only ever about how much weight I lost. It was about nothing else. And so there would be times where I'd go to these appointments and I just wouldn't eat the whole day before. I wouldn't drink anything because I was so nervous about what the impact.
Almost like a boxer trying to get ready for a fight.
Yeah, and I was starving. Like, I was so hungry. Like, think of me not eating for a whole day.
Like, where's Maia?
KFC was calling. Like, steak and egg fry. The Asians at the Otara flea market's like, are you all good? Where are you? Are you having that cholesterol heart attack right now?
Yeah. There's someone else I've had on the podcast called Zoe McBride, who's she's a rower, and she was the same, and because they've like certain weight grades for the row, and it ended up just like crushing her, and she ended up like pulling out of the Olympics and letting her partner down like a couple of months before. So she not only sacrificed her own Olympic dreams, but basically cost her boatmate an Olympic thing as well. But she just got so unhealthy and obsessed with the scales. And
I think as an athlete, a lot of the times, like, your body is your vehicle, like that's your job, and I related my weight so much with fitness, and at the same time fitness targets had just started coming in, so I was like, okay, if I'm lighter, I'm going to be able to run faster, run further, it's just going to be better for me. So I got so fixated on losing weight as the years went on. During lockdown, I was weighing myself before and after every meal, like sometimes 10 times a day.
You're joking?
No.
So you'd wake up in the morning and like weigh yourself first thing?
First thing. After after I ate everything, after I went to the bathroom every time, like literally everything I weighed.
Well, like you look amazing sitting in front of me now. What's your weight now?
I wouldn't know. The scales are the devil.
Fantastic!
I haven't hopped on the scales for a long, long time, and I'm not going to.
What do you think about it in relation to like where you were in?
I'm probably like 5 to 10 kgs.
Right.
Heavier than what I was.
Does anyone like nutritionists or any trainers or anything say anything now?
No,
do you sort of feel it?
Somehow I just unintentionally changed the game because I started being quite vocal with my issues, and then it meant that it was optional to weigh, and then the scales weren't at trainings, because we used to weigh before and after every training to see how much fluid loss we had.
Oh, so this is. See, I was thinking maybe this is something that's in your mind, like it's a perception
it's both.
No, but if there's scales there at training, then it's not just in your mind. It's a thing.
Yeah, it was all about performance. So every training we would weigh in and out.
What for?
To see how much fluid we lost and how much we had to replace.
Right. Oh, okay.
And so apparently there's all this research now that like you don't need to use you can just look at your pee, all that sort of stuff. But for me back then, I've always placed a high value on the scales and the number, and it was just really like stuffing with my mind. So in the end, when I got really sick with a eating disorder, with relative energy deficiency syndrome.
REDS. Yeah, Sophie McBride had that, and who was it? One of the two Raw sisters, Rosa Flanagan. She was a runner on an American scholarship. She had the same thing.
Yeah, so
REDS.
I got REDS.
Massive.
It's massive, and I didn't know. So there was physically I could tell because I could see my ribs. Like big gal, you never see her ribs. And then
unless you go to Lone Star. And then I lost my period for about 4 to 5 months. Physically, I just felt like I was on fire. Like I was hitting all these yo-yo targets, like at PBs and everything. And then as the season started back up, I remember I started getting so like absolutely buggered after a first quarter. I'm like, why am I tired? Like I've literally only played 1 quarter and I'm the fittest I've ever been. And then found out that it was REDS. So yeah, it's been a long journey. Even now I still struggle with it because I am bigger than both of those photos, and even then I don't necessarily like what I see and the language that I can use about myself. Like now. But I know in terms of performance, I've had probably the most consistent season of my career. Why don't you like what you see? What do you mean?
Because I still deep down feel like I'm too big and don't want to be the size of the first photo where I'm absolutely sick. But I feel like, if I lost a couple of kgs, I'd look in my head better. But I feel like I could probably lose any amount of and still not be happy. I still wasn't happy when I was the lightest I've ever been.
So what's your relationship like with food now? Anything goes?
Pretty much. I think that's the thing that's changed. Is I used to be really restrictive. During lockdown, I'd only have 1 cheat meal and 1 dessert, and then the next day I'd feel like crap because I had a biscuit. And then I'd spend
no way to live your life.
No, and then it just meant that I was doing extra training on my day off because I felt so guilty for eating that 1 cookie.
Oh my God, you need to listen to the episode with Sophie McBride.
I do.
Honestly, identical stories.
Yeah. And what I've learned from my journey and the people that still connect to me this day, like I've had parents, I've had like little kids as young as like 7 come up to me. It's not just, it's an issue that doesn't discriminate. I've had men come up to me and I have conversations with men all the time about it. Like everyone is struggling with something. I just happen to have a bit of a profile and talk about it once and it blows up.
Yeah, so why? So that decision to do that post in 2021 on your Instagram page, it did blow up in a big way. It ended up making like national news, and You must have realised it would be naive to think there wasn't a chance that was going to happen when you shared it.
See, it's a bit different now, but even in that time, I don't think I'm anyone different to Joe Blogs next door.
Yeah.
I play netball. I understand that I play on TV, but apart from being in the netball courts or in the netball environment, I don't think I'm anyone different.
Yeah.
So it is really, it happens to me all the time, but it is not uncomfortable, but new when people come and talk to me outside of those environments, or they want to talk to me. And so I guess at that time, I was just a young woman playing netball for a living.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a superstar. I had been in the Ferns, but I wasn't necessarily like your main person.
Yeah.
So why would it blow up? Very naive.
Yeah, you must have. It must have been so satisfying and validating when were you just refreshing seeing the comments come in? Because all the comments are wonderful, eh?
Yeah, they were awesome comments. I took it in the fact that I found it quite overwhelming, because at that point I felt like, yeah, there was all these articles and everyone wanted to talk to me about it, and then I had foundations coming and wanting me to be an ambassador, and that's where I was sort of just like, far out, I'm struggling. I don't know whether I can be an ambassador when I haven't got through it. Like, I don't want to be a fraud. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't think I can be a spokesperson right now. I can be a spokesperson for my journey, but I don't felt a bit uncomfortable at that point to be an ambassador for a whole issue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it was lovely, but then it made things a little bit scary at the same time.
But if someone else thinks you're fit to be an ambassador, then like obviously you are. Do you know what I mean?
Like as a compliment? Taking it as a compliment in a way?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Like, I know it's your journey, but they obviously thought that's going to be relatable and helpful to a whole lot of other people.
Yeah, I think at the time I just felt like all these things were happening to me, like my illness was happening to me. I didn't have control of it, whereas now I feel like I have a bit more control of it, and I'm way more secure in myself that I'd be like, hey, actually, yeah, I'll happily be an ambassador. I've been working with some like production companies on doing a eating disorder series or a little doco, and it's now, when they first came to me with it 2 years ago, I couldn't do it, but at the moment I'm like, actually, I know my story. I'm okay with being an ambassador. So why not take it with two hands?
Yeah, you're during this time where you had this unhealthy relationship with the scales and food. Did you ever like, I don't know if try is the word, but like try to make yourself throw up or anything like that?
No,
I think it's bulimia. Yeah.
No, I never went that far, to be honest. I don't think I have the
step,
balls to do it.
Yeah.
I'd just rather feel guilt and just not eat.
Yeah. I mean, food's never something you should feel guilty about, though, eh?
That's the difference between me then and now, is I'll just eat whatever. And I know now that I train my ass off every day of the week. I do enough that it's not good, and within reason. Like, I eat pretty well in general, anyways.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do.
Like, it doesn't matter. I'm not as restrictive as I was.
So all this was going on while your mum was getting fuck.
And food diaries, I would document everything on my phone, and then in between sorting out pills and making sure she was eating and organising visitors and having to host people.
How did you not crumble at this time? So you lost your dad a couple of years prior to this.
Yeah.
There was the lockdown, which everyone went through.
Yeah.
Your mum's sick. You're dealing with the stress of this and all this guilt and shame surrounded by food and body weight. How did you not crumble?
Don't get me wrong, I did crumble by the end of it. Once everyone else was okay and we were in a sort of space where I could, then I did.
So you just sort of compartmentalise things until your mum was better, and then you could sort of breathe.
Yeah, and like for everybody, you wear a few hats. So I was a daughter, I was a sister, I was was I captain? I was a netball player, I was a partner, family member. So it just meant that different hats had to take a step back. So at that point in time, I was a crap partner because I didn't have time to. My partner was in Wellington. Like, I didn't have time to communicate. I had bigger things that needed my attention. So it just meant that. But once I did crumble, I needed those people that I neglected, and so I was lucky enough that they still came around.
Yeah. So crumbling. What did that look like?
struggling to sleep.
Yeah.
Very, very emotional, crying all the time, lack of motivation in training, just being a right asshole, to be honest, to be around. Like, I would have been the most horrible person.
Yeah.
Like, I'd show up to training, but I just wasn't there, and I was probably rude and overtired, and a combination of things. Probably just avoiding everybody and anything.
Yeah. How's your mental health now? You in a good space?
I'm living my best life at the moment.
Yeah,
Thank God.
What does that mean? I see that on Instagram, and it usually involves like hammocks and hollowed out coconuts and palm trees. What's your best life?
I would love to be sipping on a cocktail in a hammock somewhere warm right now. Well, my team at netball's going really well. Yeah. So really happy with that. With the World Cup on the rise, hopefully that comes in. My personal life, I just feel like I'm really secure in everything that's going on there, and my family are happy. So, yeah, just living my best life.
Yeah. You came over with your partner today.
Yes.
He's sitting in the room with us. Hey. How did you guys meet?
How did we meet?
Did you want to talk about him, or you want to save this for Women's Day?
Well, I've been blindsided a few. It's quite interesting. He is the topic. He's the flavour of the month. Everyone loves him. My whole family love him. I was doing this netball interview on a netball show, and the whole interview was about him. So we...
Yeah, now I'm turning the podcast around, so the podcast is about him.
Yeah, everything's about him. I like to say his family are in love with me, so hopefully when it's in his world, they talk about me. But how do we meet? We met, he actually slid in my DMs on Instagram.
Did he now?
He did. Apparently, a couple of years ago...
So DM slide, how does that... So you're friends on Instagram first and foremost. Does he chip away by liking a few posts or commenting on posts?
Well, I've got a public profile, so he must... There's even a bigger story.
How many followers have you got? You got a lot of followers, right? About 10,000?
Yeah, about 10K. Yeah. So... Yeah, I didn't know who he was when he first came around, and then I saw this random profile keep liking my story photos. I'm like, what's this about?
He's playing the long game.
He's playing the long game. It's quite funny. We've had this conversation about how it's happened all the time, and then I was having a great night out, and he liked a photo that I put up, and I was like, you know what? Let's see. I followed him back, and then a conversation just started, and pretty much...
Who wrote the first comment?
He did.
Yeah. Can you remember what it was? Hey, up to...
No, I don't think it was that bad. I don't think it was that cheesy. But yeah, definitely, I'd have to scroll back to think about it. But apparently, I had someone catfished me on Tinder years ago, and apparently we matched on Tinder a couple of years ago, so that's sort of how it started.
Wow. What do you mean how did you get catfished?
Someone took really old, photos of me off my Instagram.
Oh, gotcha.
And they didn't even change the name. So, they were literally acting like it was Maia. I got sent the screenshot from a friend.
Wow.
A couple of years ago. And then I don't know how he started following me again, but I think, a mutual friend I was working with the day before, and then saw him the next day, and they started talking about me. So
you sure this isn't just an elaborate story that you told your partner at the time when he found out you were on Tinder?
Wow. Wouldn't you like to know? It's a catfish. It's a catfish.
Babe, it's not me. It's not me.
It's not you, it's me.
So Liam Lonergan, son of Dean Lonergan, who's been on the podcast.
Yes, yeah. He is the mystery man that just like a bad smell, it just never goes away. He's holding my hand here today.
Yeah,
to make sure I don't stuff up.
Him and his dad, Dean, has been on the podcast, and one of the boxers they work with, Maia Wilson. She's been on the what's her name? Maia Wilson. She's been on the podcast as well.
She's my woman crush. She
Yeah.
is one of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life, and Liam and I have a little a little gag because he spends so much time with her. I'm jealous. So I've decided I'm the mistress now because Mia is just the most incredible person in the world, and he gets to spend time with her by being her promoter. Yeah,
the podcast that we did, it's a good dose of perspective. You've been through shit the last few years, the body image stuff, your dad passing away, your mum having cancer.
It's nothing on her.
Yeah, and you compare it to her, and she's so bubbly and happy and positive.
She is one of the most incredible people I've met. I keep claiming that we're related because we're from the same place in the Hokianga now, so she's going to be my cousin or my auntie. But yeah, it's really nice being with someone who works in a sporting world, so gets athletes and you know, played sport all his life and has been around that, so yeah.
And your potential future father-in-law, have you had much to do with him?
My potential future father-in-law. Yeah, we've been around the blocks. It seems like it's always a boxing event though. So
right.
I'm going into their field. But yeah, it's quite nice. Liam actually gets phone calls every morning at 7:30 from his dad to make sure he's awake. So it's nice. I can mimic their whole conversation every morning.
Oh yes.
Every morning. So yeah. It's quite...
How long is that? Like a 40-second phone call? 30-second phone call?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, hey, man, just checking you're up. Like, it's something that's like goes on about that. He's getting really annoyed at me right now that I'm saying this. But I think it's most beautiful
adorable.
Because,
adorable.
These are two men, like father and son relationship. It's pretty incredible. So, I think it's quite cute how they are, and to see that the love and the admiration of each other and that they work together, because I don't think I could ever work with my family, so I've got so much respect that they can work together.
Oh yeah, no, Dean and Liam Lonergan, they've got a fantastic working relationship. Yeah, it's a good relationship. My dad's still alive. We're not a particularly close family, and I see a relationship like the one they've got, and it's like, I kind of wish you know, you get people that say their dad's their best mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had that.
It literally is them, and even with all, like, once I came on the scene, like the Lonegans and the Atwoods, Liam's mum's side of the family, like they're all netball fans now. They all come across, like. It's quite cute to see that his auntie Tracy in particular, who's Dean's sister, I respect her opinion so much. She must get netball. She does get netball, used to play. So I would text her pretty much or call her after every game to see like what her opinion was on the game. So it's quite cool to see how like families have merged in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And has Dean offered you a milk?
No, Dean has not offered me a milk.
No, he doesn't. He loves his milk, but doesn't like to share it.
Loves his milk, and apparently I've heard that it's changed. So it's like ice, half milk, half water, because Dean does not drink.
Yeah, he hasn't drunk for years.
No.
So he'll order that at a restaurant, right? Like
yeah.
half milk, half water. It just sounds disgusting.
The last family thing we were at a like a bar restaurant, I don't think I saw him have milk in his hand, but he did have a Coke.
Huh, mixing it up. Living dangerously.
Living on the hard side of life.
Oh, that's good. So you're happy. It seems like you're in a good place.
Yeah.
Have you been in love before? What's your previous longest relationship?
7 years.
7 years? Really? From when to when?
When I was 18 till
sort of recently?
Yeah, the start of the year.
What happened there? You just drift apart?
I think it was a combination of things, like he was based in Wellington, I was based in Auckland, and I would shift my life every 6 months to move down. I loved it down there. I loved his family, and I'm really grateful for everything that I experienced and I learned of him and them. But it just got to a point where, I don't know, I felt like things weren't necessarily 50-50 and what I would have liked it. And he just wasn't my person. He was right for that right moment in that moment in time, and everything, like he was the person I needed then, but just not the person for me. Funny
you should say that. There's a thing I saw on TikTok or Instagram or something. The quote goes, people come into your life for a reason,
or a
season or a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe he was a reason and a season.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's been hard to navigate a new relationship when it's been so close too. So I feel like I didn't want to disrespect him, but it was ready for me, and I felt like it was right, and I'm really, really happy, and it's that's just how it is.
Did you break his heart?
Probably. Probably.
Oh, breakups are tough, especially when you spend that long with someone, and because it's not like you're just breaking up with the person; it's the family as well, and the friends.
Family was a massive part of it. Like,
was he Māori?
He was Samoan.
Samoan.
I lived in his family household, which was quite big, and his sisters were two of my best mates. Yeah. We would talk. One in particular, we would talk FaceTime multiple times a day. That was definitely one of the harder parts of letting go, was the family. But I had to make the decision that it can't be about the family. It has to be about the relationship, and it just wasn't. It wasn't what I felt like it wasn't in the direction I felt like I was going in.
I feel like this says a lot about your character, because a lot of people would be like, oh, the relationship's fine, it's not 100%, but it's mostly good. And a lot of people, I think, would probably myself included, would just like plow on through with it, keep with it. But it's like if you know that something's not 100, you'll...
Well, to be honest, that's what I did for, like, if we were being honest, the relationship wasn't good in parts.
Yeah.
And so I had actually pretty much said, like, you're either moving to Auckland or, like, I just don't want to do long distance. I just don't see that for me. And if you don't want to come, that's absolutely fine. Like, I think it's just best. So we split 2 weeks before he was moving to Auckland.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
probably
needed to stop
Yeah.
earlier. There's definitely parts where emotionally I was checked out for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's probably the hardest thing, and maybe one of the reasons why I have been able to move on so much more is because I've been emotionally checked out for a long time.
It's good that you can recognise all this stuff. Have you had therapy over the years or anything? You've been to a therapist?
I see a psych fortnightly. Have been for pretty much like 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, like a psychologist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot.
So how many years? So since your dad passed, was that the catalyst or?
Well, yeah, I've been seeing them on and off with sport because you see them for sports psychology, but the one that I've been working with in particular, I've been working for about 4 or 5 years with her, and it depends on the session. Like sometimes I'm talking about leadership and netball or performance, and then other stuff I'm actually talking about relationships and my family and stuff going on. So yeah, these are definitely conversations that come up in my appointments.
Yeah. Is it like a sports psychologist?
Yeah.
But what's the difference between a sports psychologist and like a clinical?
They're pretty much the same.
Yeah,
a lot of sports psychs are clinical psychs.
Yeah.
They just happen to specialise in sports. So it was sort of like the best of both worlds for me.
Yeah. You find that? How did you find the first time? I feel like women are probably better at going to a therapy session than what men are. I put it off for years. I only went for the first time like about 5 years ago. It was a big step for me. And then I realised I was such a dick afterwards. It was like, why didn't you do that sooner? It was the easiest thing. It was actually quite cathartic.
When I first started seeing about my current 1 or 5 years, and sometimes even I hate going now because half the time I walk out crying or I just hate feeling so emotionally drained. But I know if there's emotion in it, like it's the right thing to talk about. And so, yeah, there's definitely been times where she calls me out on my stuff and I'm thinking, I actually thought I was doing the right thing. But actually, I'm just trying to do things to validate my own damn self. So, yeah, I get called out all the time.
So she keeps you honest.
She keeps me honest. She challenges me that it's not necessarily all about me, but am I trying to avoid stuff? Because I know in like fight or flight mode, I will avoid things if I'm starting to crash and just not want to talk about it.
Yeah, like just put walls up.
Yeah.
Oh
or
God,
just like ignore. Like if I have a crap game,
yeah.
If I have a crap game, I won't look at any stats. Like I won't watch the game because I don't want to feel like even crappier about myself. Flip side, if I play a great game, sometimes I read those bloody keyboard warrior comments because they're gassing me up. But like that's such the difference is that I'll start reading that stuff because I want to be gassed up. And then when I play like crap, like I would avoid it like the plague.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I suppose if you're going to take the good, the positive, you've got to take the negative as well. And the best thing is to try and not get too up yourself, but not get too down on yourself either. Find that balance, right?
And I wouldn't say like I like to think I'm not an arrogant person,
yeah.
so I am confident in myself. But yeah, sometimes I'm just like I like to think I'll do things with mana and
dignity
and dignity. Yeah. Even like the whole breakup, I really tried to make sure the other person was okay, just because I don't want, like I would hate to just be that person that just ups and goes and is just an asshole. Like I'm going to do this with kindness, and it's not hard to be kind.
How's your relationship now? Any contact or?
No contact.
Maybe it'll happen in time. Like 7 years.
It's a long time. Yeah. And
is it just easier for him at the moment not to have any contact, or?
I think the biggest part for him has been that I've moved on.
Yeah.
So, I reckon it's going to take a while. And you know what? If he doesn't want to talk, that's absolutely fine. I think it's been really hard for the family. Like we go talking multiple times a day, being in family chats and all that sort of stuff. So for me to sort of just because we had split up on and off before. but it was the first time I was like, nah, like, I'm actually gone. So, yeah, I think they're all still really hurting, and I know that they'll see I'll be on the news, or netball will come across and they have to change a channel because it's just too hard for them
Really?
to see me. And
that's
hard.
that's
You don't
time.
want them, you don't want anyone hurting like that.
So, but when they find out your current boyfriend is a wannabe New Zealand comedian with very low income prospects, maybe, I mean, he's no Di Henwood, is he?
Well, I'm still, I'm trying to figure out who's the real comedian in this relationship because I don't know whether it's him.
Yeah. What was it that made you guys fall for each other?
We've pretty much been inseparable since we met.
Really? Yeah. Isn't that funny how you can just DM with someone and not really know, you know what they choose to put on social media, but then you meet them and you just click?
I reckon we've done like the goods, bads, and the uglies. Like pretty much from day one, like we were both quite open with how things were. And at that time too, I was going through like my ex-partner had my car. So like there were things that I remember feeling quite, man, I've got this new guy who I actually really enjoy spending time with. I feel like this could go somewhere. How do I tell him that I'm having to organise like a car and being stuck in the middle? And so I was really grateful for how he treated that situation because it was with a lot of grace and being like, it's only short term. Like, it's a long term game.
Oh man, I can't imagine the how difficult that conversation is and how guilty you felt. Not that you should, but you just do. You feel like a bad person,
like
right?
both ways. Like I just felt like I was having these hard conversations with someone who'd been in my life for 7 years and wanting to treat that with so much kindness. At the same time, I'm having to tell pretty much a lot of that conversation to this new person that I've just met. And I don't want him to frickin' lie. I don't want that to scare him off.
With all your baggage.
With all my, literally, I'm just like, we're a couple of weeks in and here's this baggage and you're like, holy hecker, like what other baggage do you have? So...
Yeah. Oh, no, jokes aside, your current partner, he's a good, reasonable guy, and he understands that everyone's got a past and everyone's got baggage.
Well, yeah, now he's
don't worry, he's got his own fucking baggage.
He's got his own baggage, that's for sure. But it's quite interesting because now he's playing like my manager. Like he's like, I'm going to get you on Dom's podcast. So I was like, yeah, like if Dom needs someone, I'm happy to go on. I don't know if I've got much to talk about. He's like, I'm getting you on the podcast. I was like, okay, he's telling me what to do, which for someone who likes control has been like, I've been quite difficult with that in times, but I'm being quite open. Like he's very career driven, and there's times where I follow him out to his house in my car, and he's like, the whole car ride I've been thinking about your career and how I can help you, and
how good,
all that sort of stuff. And I'm not used to that. I'm definitely not used to that. We are very, very different, like polar opposites in so many ways. We challenge each other all the time, but I think that's probably like the best part of our relationship is that we challenge, and we like our superpower is our communication.
That's an awesome superpower to have.
Yeah.
Now that you've been on my podcast, you can break up with him.
I know. He's had his use. He's gone.
You got what you wanted. Yeah. And you guys farted in front of each other?
He has all the time. But I would say I like farting's. How do I put this? You get awards in my family, not about the noise, but about the smell. And for some reason, since he's come into my life, I was the gassiest. Like, honestly, I took pride in that, and I just haven't been able to. So it's something about him that's putting me off, putting my body off, because I actually want to do it to clear a room. I'm really good at clearing rooms. So really? I want to do it for him to see so he knows what he's coming up for. I just haven't been able to. I'm so disappointed.
That's a turning point in the relationship, I reckon, when that happens.
Yeah, well, we've got to the stage where, like, he'll be in the shower and I'll be, like, sitting on the toilet, so we've got that far. Yeah,
it's funny how relationships take their own sort of life format. Like, my previous girlfriend, like, she'd go to the toilet with the door open and she'd fart in front of me. My current girlfriend, she'll have a shower and she'll lock the door, and, you know, she's, like, very, very... Yeah, it's just interesting how... You have different relationships and different dynamics with different people.
Yeah, I think we've both realised, like, oh, well, you've seen the best, the worst, the ugliest. Like, you've heard it all, been there, done that. There's stuff he knows about me that, like, not many people know, and vice versa. So, like, wow. Oh, well, if you want to run, you would have run before. I got nothing else to hide.
But it's nice, though, if you can be, like, that completely, like, open and vulnerable with someone.
Yeah, and we're still, and the thing is, we're still we're still early on. We've only been seeing each other for a couple of months. And so it's been really nice that it's been so easy. and I don't normally talk about my personal life, so like for me to even say that here and he's in the room, like it just shows how much confidence that I have in what we have.
Have you said I love you to each other?
He told me he loved me before we actually became
on Instagram.
In real life, before we actually became a couple, like an official couple.
Really? And what did you say? There's only one acceptable answer when someone says I love you.
Is that what I said? Thank you. Oh, what a prick.
Oh my
What a prick.
God, you're savage. But I feel like you're not going to say it if you don't mean it.
No, because I was sort of in the space.
Oh, thanks.
You made me look like an asshole. He put me in the space where I was like, you're going to tell me you love me before you ask me out? Like, and I remember when he asked me out, I was like, you're going to do better than that. And it still happened like that. I was just like, oh, well, like, it is what it is.
So you have said it, though, since then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he gets sick of how much we say it to each other. Right. So.
Oh, that's nice.
His mother tells me she loves me pretty much every time I see her too. So I think I've told him actually, I really love his family. I told him I'm leaving him for his papa. His papa is the most incredible man I've ever met.
Oh, not his dad, his granddad.
No, his granddad.
The old dude on Waihine.
No, on his mum's side.
On the mum's side.
His mum's side. So his granddad's like 92, 93, like works every day on their farm, like is hilarious, is way funnier than his grandson. Like just the whole part of it. I told him I'm leaving him for his granddad. Oh, for Papa.
That's lovely. That's so nice. Hey, it's been great meeting you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I mean, all I know you from is seeing you on TV on netball, playing netball, and the stuff that you've shared on social media. But the Maia Wilson that's sitting in front of me today, it seems like you're in a really good space, mentally, physically, everything. Yeah, you happy? This is the think the happiest you've been in a long time?
Yeah, and I'm sick of making it about him, but a lot of it's to do with the fella in the room, so... Like, it makes it happier when you're just in a great space. Yeah, but I don't want to take anything away from him, but you've got to give yourself some credit as well, because it seems like you've been through a lot and you've done a lot of hard work. Yeah, and I think it's because I know, like, I'm actually a really good person. I'm very black and white. Like, I either love you or I hate you, but you'll know where you stand. But in general, like, everything comes from love and from care, and it's about everyone else rather than myself. I will drag myself through the dirt for other people before I actually do something for myself. Yeah, what's your inner voice like? Are you mostly quite kind to yourself? You're quite hard on yourself. What do you reckon? I want to say the inner voice is a massive critic, but I'm way more vocal now about actually I'm a good bitch, like, which is probably the change in the security that I feel about myself. Yeah. Remember, the most insecure person you'll ever meet. Yeah. Now I understand what it means. Yeah. Yeah. How did you get there? Because I battle with this a lot. Like I'm so hard. I speak to myself in ways that I would not accept anyone else speaking to me. How did you turn that around? Is it just the work you've done, or what? A lot of it's the work. Yeah. A lot of it has been in reflection of this last breakup and knowing that I always knew I was all good on my own, but I'm actually all good on my own, and I actually quite enjoy my own company. I care deeply for all the people in my life. That's a lot to be proud of, and the netball's just the netball. It has nothing to do with the person that I am and what I give to other people. And the more that I verbalise that, like I communicate that all the time. Now, when I have bad thoughts, I'm very open with my partner being like, this is going on right now for me. And I actually might not need you to do anything, but I just need to say it so that it just gets it out of there. Yeah. And I'm not continuing to dig a hole and build stories, internalise stories in my head. Nice. And professionally, second half, I guess, of your netball career. Like, what are the goals? What are the dreams? So we have World Cup selection coming up in June for July World Cup. So I've never been to a World Cup. I've always been a non-travelling reserve. So I'd love to get into the 12 for that. I'd want to start developing my comms background, doing a bit of broadcasting and whatever that means, or marketing, and just preparing for the transition of post netball, because I feel like I've got the contacts and got the networks. I just need to start. getting out there and developing that side of things.
Yeah, and you're a great speaker and you've got a great story. So I'm sure whatever you put your mind to, I'm sure you'll be able to do it very well. Even if it did take you 6 years to get a comms degree.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, exactly. There we go. Hey, it was free though. Not many people can say that.
No, look, I'm having you on. You had a lot going on. You had netball going on, stuff with your dad. All right. Hey, Maia Wilson, thanks so much for coming over and being on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, it's been my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.